Greetings, GameCola faithful, and welcome back to more Let's Play Dragon Warrior. In the last episode, we got the magic...
Oh, just pretend like people just came from the last episode. We don't need this. Let's go beat up some monsters.
In the last episode, I forgot what happened. Something, magic armor, something.
Yeah, right?
I think that's what we did.
We're so good at this.
Yeah, we died a whole bunch.
And what we're doing now is trying to ensure we don't die a whole bunch in the near future.
Indeed. We have a couple of long-term goals that we would like to reach. Mainly, we want to get the Heal More spell, because right now we are relying very heavily on herbs, which do I have a... Okay, I've got a healthy supply of those. Right now we're relying on herbs for a lot of our healing because enemies are just dealing a lot of damage, so... You know, all right, smash the... So it's always Drackies that we just end up getting these excellent moves on. We're just absolutely dunking on them. But anyway, so the enemies in the later areas, the sort of next areas that we want to travel to, are doing lots of damage to us. And so we really need to build up our survivability against them. So ideally we could get more gold to get the final shield in the game, the better healing spell, so that we can actually out heal the damage that we're taking instead of just kind of matching it, which doesn't really help.
Yeah, we're just kind of sitting there hoping that they miss or decide to cast a spell. Right?
Yeah. So we're just kind of like, all right, do something that does less damage than I can match in healing.
Yeah.
I do think that's kind of an interesting, mandatory level requirement that we've hit. Like, if you want this armor, realistically, the only way you can get it is to level up enough so that you have the spell that allows you to survive this battle.
Yeah, and it's not even like a damaging spell or like hitting a specific weakness. It's literally just these enemies are dealing so much damage to you that you just need to have a really powerful ability to heal in order to make headway.
Because even racking up a bunch of hit points isn't going to last more than like one extra hit with the damage they're dealing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the Wraith Knights are still a pretty considerable challenge, actually.
You know, I do wonder when we're gonna run into a metal slime. We haven't seen...
Well, we're not in the right territory. We got to go south more.
Yeah, I'm just...
Yeah, well, only...
That's the next spell we need, south more.
Yeah, south more.
Oh. But I thought they start spawning around here, that, like, it's very shortly south.
Possibly. All I know is where we definitively saw one before.
We've only seen one so far to my recollection, which, I mean, that doesn't mean much, but...
Why don't we try this? Why don't we meander down to where we found the metal slime before, and then when we fight one, go up just a little bit from there, wander kind of horizontally, and see how far out of the most dangerous territory we can get while still fighting metal slimes.
Okay. Right, because I assume they still work similarly to how I'm used to them acting in other games, which is they are sources of significant numbers of experience, but also very difficult to defeat. Oh, talk to the trees. They don't tell me where the metal slimes are. How much?
You need to find the Lorax.
Yeah. No. He speaks for the trees, not from the trees.
Oh.
All right. It was it around down into the left there?
I think it was below these mountains, or just to the east of these mountains.
Okay. For some reason, I recall being near a bridge.
Were we all the way over there?
I mean, it certainly doesn't hurt to be wandering.
No.
Yeah.
Anywhere, because...
I mean, we're just leveling, so we need to walk in circles anyway.
Leveling makes it sound boring. This is our rise to power.
Yes.
You'll have to forgive me if I sound a little bit sick. I've come down with a status ailment, and I don't have the proper healing herbs or magic to get rid of it right now.
No. Well,
Or if I
that's
do,
all
they're
right.
not effective enough.
Yep, well, you need to, well, you just have to sleep.
I wish.
Me too. That would be really nice.
Got up at exactly 4 a.m. and was not happy about it.
Oh.
For reference, I don't normally wake up anywhere near 4 a.m. For some people, that's like, oh, it's when I get up for work. Like, yeah, okay.
Sleep. Yes, I put the magic wyvern to sleep. Okay.
Nice.
Doing 20 damage. Well, the first hit did
What?
20 damage.
Ooh.
Now it was 12. 13. All right.
You're fine.
See, that's a reasonable damage number.
Yeah.
I guess the pain is like I guess we need money as well, but I feel like we're kind of prioritizing EXP right now. And
Yeah.
Aside from running into metal slimes, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of things that give the amount of EXP we would need to make this not take forever.
Which, I mean, on the other hand, though, you know, the gold men served as the, oh, you need a lot of money. Well, hope you run into a lot of these. Whereas I think the regular enemies are just kind of the, you know, not that. If you want experience, just fight everything else. So the sheer number of not gold men type enemies are your experience. But I do agree. It would be,
Do we want to walk towards Cantolin just so that we can maybe stay at the inn and then not have to walk so far?
yes, that would
to get back here.
be nice. And I guess I can always run if
think
the
it's-
enemies get seriously.
I think you can't get there from this one.
Okay, I think it's okay.
Now, do you have a wing, or are you saving enough MP to return yourself? Because I
Yeah.
think we probably should have headed straight to Cantlin from the get-go if we were going to use that strategy.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, it's actually a bit of a walk, isn't it?
and it's eight. It's
Oh no, I
eight
guess
magic.
it is this. I guess it is this map. Or
Okay,
this,
we're gonna run. Okay, I think I can get there from here. I just gotta
Yeah.
go up.
It's the second one that's the northern one.
Yeah, so don't go across this bridge if I'm
Right.
recall correctly. No, wait,
Yeah.
I do have
Yeah.
to cross this bridge.
No,
No,
No?
we've made that mistake before, I think.
yeah, this is where I steered you
that's
wrong
right.
before.
Okay, that's right. That was why I was mixed up. It's all your fault.
But see, I remembered it now because I got it wrong the first time.
Yes, and that's interesting. Now we're back into territory of knights and stuff. We,
I would be curious to see a map of where things spawn, right?
yeah. That would be pretty handy in terms of meta knowledge, but also, okay, I need to be very careful.
I think we can make it.
Yeah, we can make it.
I need to save 8 MP because I don't believe, I don't have, I do have one pair of
You do
wings
have wings.
actually. Okay. A wizard. Should
Now,
I-
how much is stop spell?
Stop spell is 3, oh, stop spell. Oh, I attacked him by accident.
All right, we're committed now.
All right. Stop spell. Okay, it does 2. It didn't
Do it.
work. Hurt more.
Oh no.
Ow!
Uh-oh. Nope.
I need to herb more. Alright, I'm gonna try running. Okay.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, we're right there, right?
Yay!
Yeah,
We did
Yeah,
it.
thankfully, I was holding my breath for a second. I'm like, I can't remember if the golem comes back.
And he just-
Yeah, I was thinking the same
Thank
thing.
goodness. Alright.
How much is it?
100 gold per night.
Which is now like one battle anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we should top off our herbs.
Yep, I just need to remember which of the many
Yeah.
different shops is herbs. Aha! First
Hey,
try.
Easy enough. Have herbs always cost 24?
Yep. They have indeed. Or I guess in this
One
game.
hit point for every hour of the day. One gold for every hour of the day.
Also, something I'm going to do here Just in case.
Cheat. Cool.
Yes. It's not cheating,
Yeah,
it's
that's-
called convenience.
So we were looking for metal slimes, right?
Yes, so I guess I should go back to, oh. You know, I haven't really checked below this town, but I guess the metal slimes are probably back up this way.
Well, also consider that we're having star wyverns attack us around here,
Yes.
which we were trying to avoid before.
Nice. There we go.
All right, ow.
He still hits pretty hard, though, right?
Yeah, he does. I've also noticed that some of the alternate enemy forms actually mirror the sprite horizontally.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Oh, excellent move. 71 damage. I
Nice.
actually did more than
that's more.
56.
Yeah.
Heal.
Right? Every single time I forget about that. Okay.
So, Jeddy, you
Yes.
may be interested to know that I started playing Final Fantasy Legend, the.
Oh, yeah?
Because I believe I mentioned I picked up the collection of Saga or whatever it's called, and started playing the first one. And I must have played it at some point. I never owned it, but I'm sure I played it at a friend's house or something because it
Yeah.
feels extremely familiar. And maybe it was just because I had the Nintendo Power issue and read about it repeatedly
Yeah.
because that's what we used to do.
Yeah.
But it's not particularly fun so far.
Yeah, no, it isn't. And I think about that sometimes is like, okay, weapon endurance or whatever, right? I mean, what? Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild implemented that, and it works out fine, right? It's fun. It's an interesting game mechanic.
Fire
And
Emblem
that's
does it.
exactly what Square was thinking when they made the game. They're like, well, Zelda did it in, another 30 years. Why can't we?
I mean,
Yeah.
Fire Emblem also did something similar, I believe. At least in the
I
couple
guess-
of games I've played.
I guess the difference is that, in Breath of the Wild, you get weapons constantly, just like for free.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I remember trying to grind in that game because, again, there is nothing but money in that game. You don't level. You
You
have to
buy your
buy
upgrades.
items. Yeah. And
Which I think is interesting. I do kind of like that because you can direct where your upgrades are going. You're not just at the whim of whatever the programmers wanted you to have. But yeah, I'm finding I had an unfortunate situation early on where so I have a party of 2 humans, and I like that the instruction manual even tells you what some recommended party characteristics are, because you can choose. Do you want humans? Do you want mutants? Do you want monsters? They all have their own unique abilities, different equipment that they can put on, etc. And I like that they tell you, like, if you use this party configuration, you will die. Like, you'll make it 3 battles, and that's it. So don't do that one. But I have one of the more challenging ones, because I'm like, I've played a ton of RPGs. I am probably only going to play this one once, so let me get the most experience I can get out of it. So I'm playing 2 humans, 1 mutant, 1 monster. And I was doing okay, and then just fighting, your random lizards or whatever kind of standard basic monsters. And then I came across one I hadn't seen before, and I am within 5 steps of the starting town. I have not left the immediate area. And then some rhinoceros-looking thing comes in, and I'm doing like 2 or 3 damage, and I'm like, okay. After a couple rounds, I'm like, I'm not taking this thing down. This is significantly harder than everything else around. Let me just run away. And by the time I was actually able to run away, my lead person, who had by far the most HP, was dead. because I didn't have, any money at the time to buy any healing items or anything like that. And of course, what's interesting about that game is you have to heal your entire party to full HP when you stay at the inn. It's not a flat rate of 50 gold and everybody gets recovered. It's 1 gold for every HP you need to recover. And if you don't have enough gold to fill everybody to full, you don't get to stay here.
Really, it just doesn't let you.
Mechanic.
If you can't afford to fully heal, it just wow. Also,
it doesn't even say, well, we'll do the best you can. We'll completely top off your lead person and everybody else doesn't get a bed, or we'll average it across everyone so everyone recovers a little bit of HP. It's all or nothing. So to recover from one party member getting bumped off, so I went and I'm like, okay, let me restore your HP. Let me revive you. And the party member got revived.
Right.
And then I realized I didn't leave enough money to heal everybody back up to full. So now I had one previously dead party member who only had 1 HP who died immediately in the next battle. So now I'm set back another 40 gold or whatever it is. And so now I'm like, well, let me be smart about this. I'm going to grind until I have enough gold to revive one party member because now a second one died because I don't have enough firepower. So now I've got 2 dead party members. Like, let me save up enough money to revive one and then heal the whole party back to full. Then I will think of, speaking of dying and healing and...
Yeah.
Oh, and we're out of MIPS.
Yes, we are.
Wow, time flies when you're talking about a completely different game than the one you're playing.
Yeah, I was on my way back to town, and then the game decided to be like, hey, screw you.
But
here's a high encounter rate.
So anyhow, when I realized immediately, like, I'm in the first half hour of the game, and I have already kind of wrecked my entire playthrough because I'm not leveling, I'm not getting experience, I'm just recouping what I lost, just restoring to the status quo.
Oh no. Run. I don't think you're gonna fight it.
No, I'm dead.
Well, I'm sorry. We were having too much fun talking about a terrible game, and we got distracted from this terrible game.
Well, it wasn't terrible. It was just a terrible fate. Now, do we want to lose all that XP?
I do.
I guess so.
In hindsight, I probably shouldn't have, but oh well. I've made the executive decision already. I was thinking about gold because that's what I'm used to caring about, so that was probably a massive, massive waste of our time to have reset that way.
Oh, well.
Good grief.
Watch us just die immediately.
Yep.
What? I mean, hey, at least you didn't lose too much.
Yeah, I lost absolutely nothing.
About the other game this time. We were here. We were fully present.
All right.
Okay.
I can tell this is going to be a really fun play session.
So anyways, all of this is to say, it sets a very bad first impression that the game is so brutal immediately. Number one, that the instruction manual tells you you can do whatever you want, but really you shouldn't do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And for your very first experience, like, if anybody dies before you've left the starting area, you've just undone your entire playthrough. You might as well reset. Like, if you look at the original Final Fantasy, if anybody dies, it's like, okay, it's a little bit of a setback, but I'll get back that money pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So just kind of wild from a game design standpoint that anyone would look at that and say, yes, this is acceptable. It is, in fact, fun.
What is the name of the game? Stargazers? Have you ever heard of this one?
No.
Was it Hoshi Miru Hito? It's like it's one of the worst games of all time.
How have I not heard of it?
we have a trend on this in this series of just talking about RPGs that we don't like.
Yeah. Sorry, actually, to interrupt. Yeah, do we want to try walking around someplace else?
Well, we were going northward now, Northmore, to try and find metal slimes. So we're just trying to get out of this area.
We learned Southmore, and now we're learning Northmore.
Yeah.
And I think this is the area where the metal slimes roughly
this is
are.
around where it was.
I think it was by this bridge here. So I've just kind of been wandering around running in circles here.
Yeah, maybe a little more north toward the mountains. I feel like that's around where it was.
All right.
Yeah, maybe it was the other bridge that's like up and to the right a bit. I don't know. I'm just. Yeah.
At any rate.
Yep.
So yeah, Hoshi Miru Hito. It's one of the worst games of all time. You start. Like it looks like this. It's an NES game, and it looks like this, and you just are dropped at the beginning of the game to 10 hit points. Sorry, now I'm paying attention. Okay, you're fine. Yeah, you got this. Yeah, nice. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so you're dropped in a thing that just kind of looks like this, and there is nothing around, and there is, if you were to survive, a town that you cannot see on the map, that you're just supposed to walk around enough to run into, hopefully, the town that's like, 4 squares away, if you knew that it was there.
Is there any hint that it exists? Like, hey, wander around and maybe you'll find a secret town somewhere?
I mean, I don't know if maybe like, if you had the manual or something, they kind of mentioned that. But when you just load up the game, there's no indication whatsoever. There's no like text or anything. It doesn't like tell you anything. Sorry, I'm distracted. There's like a UFO out there right now.
What? Is this Animal Crossing?
I'm trying to figure out what this glowing thing in the sky is.
Oh my gosh. This is,
I think it's the light at the end of the tunnel. Don't go for it.
Yeah. This game is really starting to feel a little bit like Phantasy Star in the sense of, oh boy, let's see if I can survive each individual battle and then have to go heal.
Oh, I bet I know what that is. Sorry.
This is absurd.
Oh my gosh.
No, there's just like a glowing thing flying around out there.
That's that.
Okay, here's a thought. I think we were onto something last time. Why don't we go back to... Forget this. We didn't get any XP worth keeping.
Yeah.
Versus the gold that we lost. So why don't we just reset altogether again? Why don't we immediately cast Return, go back to Rimmeldar, and beat up those monsters there? Because those were giving a good enough balance of not threatening us enough to have any close calls, and still earning a decent amount of gold and enough XP.
Yeah.
Because I think we've kind of reached a point where it does not make sense to be in the area where theoretically we should be, and anywhere that's close enough is kind of too far away from an inn to... But...
Actually, you know what I am going to do? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this. So we've like gained 400 experience here. Why don't I just return? I'm like, why would I reset and lose like the 400 experience that I did get without like dying when I can just return?
I'm sorry, I
here?
thought that's what we were gonna...
Yeah, sorry.
No, I misspoke. I misthought. Yeah, anyhow. Okay, great, cool.
All right, so Rimmeldar it is. Hey, it's a slime. Oh no, it's just regular. And I'm talking to myself.
There's no one there. The slime ran away. Didn't you see?
Yeah. I just want it to take me to the metal slimes. And see, it just kind of bothers me that we have these metal slimes. They're in an area where, in order to even survive against the other enemies, you would already need to be at an appropriate level where. Is there even really that much use in their experience by that point? I don't know what the max level is. We're currently 14, I believe. And I feel
30?
like...
30.
Yeah, I think so.
30? Are you kidding me? That feels...
Well, it feels extraordinarily low for any RPG.
Well, no,
also,
it feels
like
extraordinarily high for the current level
really?
of, like, how close I feel to the end of the game.
Oh.
Well, also consider that leveling is a way of leveling the playing field. It's if your skills and techniques, or if your luck just isn't up to par, then you can continue to fight monsters and get stronger and stronger to take the edge off of the challenges. And so I like it when you can level significantly farther than is truly necessary to beat a game, so that if you are really, really struggling, by the time you've hit that level cap, you can pretty much take out anything without thinking too hard. And that's more than anything else, that is the primary issue I have with Dragon Warrior 2, because that level cap is level 50.
Uh-huh.
And that is not enough for the final dungeon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was always one of my problems with Crystalis, right? Is like level 16 is still a challenge when you're in the final areas.
Which I'm okay with, because that's a game that is always, like, you could technically no damage that game. If you're good enough at dodging, if you use your spells correctly, you can technically get through the entire game without taking any damage. It may be like in one of the swamps, but even if you have the rabbit boots, you can bounce out of the little poison patches, right? So I think that is a game where you're not subject to the random chance of the enemy hits you unavoidably, and then you just need to deal with recovering your hit points from that. It's you have the technique to get out of the way in that game, and it's just giving you a little more HP to be able to avoid completely dying in one hit. It's giving you a little bit more of a, offensive, defensive advantage. But yeah, I wouldn't mind being able to level up just a little bit more in that game. I do like that it's still a challenge, but I do feel like... But, on the other hand, because the game requires you to have leveled to a certain point to be able to even touch certain bosses, that kind of forces you to max out your level as quickly as possible, so that could potentially introduce some more grinding as well that would not be desirable.
Yeah, I don't think it was a problem for me when I was playing through it myself, but I was definitely... It's interesting. So far, I feel like... And again, I don't know exactly how close we are to the final stretch of this game. I don't know how, what that'll be like in Dragon Warrior 2. But the final stretch of Crystalis was, like, very much detracted from my overall opinion on the game. It was very much like, all right, this game has been really fun, but now here at the end is what feels like the worst part. And that was unfortunate.
Yeah, the very end is aesthetically very cool, like aesthetically my favorite part of the game. Mm-hmm. But gameplay-wise, it is really just swarms of enemies. And there's a trick, there's a technique to it, but it's not the most interesting combat. And because it is pure grinding, you are just fighting enemies until the next path opens up. It feels disappointing that you're not also able to level up, because by that point, you physically cannot reach there without hitting max level.
Mm-hmm. All right, now I can heal. Oh my gosh, this is so much nicer.
Isn't it, though?
It's so nice to not have to heal after every single battle.
And that's, I don't know, I feel like that's part of the strategy you develop on any given game, not just Dragon Warrior, where if you're like, okay, I need to go beat up monsters for a while, what is the most efficient use of my time? And if you're being a little bit risky, okay, maybe I'll push out into some harder territory. But this game, doesn't actually give you a lot of good places to try and level up at this point in the game. Because I think ideally we would kind of want to be at the sort of equivalent area, just slightly higher to this, on the other side of the world, where that's like halfway between the castle and the destroyed town.
Mm-hmm. And there's just no such middle ground. It's either
there's nothing.
It's either
because if you look at the other
towns,
towns that are accessible to us that we could be using as a home base for recovering our hips and mips are in very, very low-level monster territory or the highest level monster territory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is something that I didn't really think about until this playthrough, because previously, anytime I played this game, I would spend a little more time in each of the areas, or I would kind of go about things a little bit differently, do things in a slightly different order, because you do have some flexibility here. And I don't think it really became as apparent as it is this time.
Yeah, right?
Mm-hmm. I mean,
I guess when you're doing a recording, it's a little different than when you're just kind of goofing around.
Well, yeah, that's also true, because in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking, like, okay, is this entertaining for the viewer? Is anyone still going to be watching this? Like, I'm having fun. We seem to be having fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep saying that, if I enjoy what I'm recording, anybody who's like-minded should theoretically also enjoy it as well. So there is that, and I know people can throw us on like a podcast and not actually watch. Even though I personally don't do a lot of podcast listening, I know people who will just listen extensively to podcasts, and so this could be riveting for people. I don't know.
I mean,
I really do not know. But I always have that in the back of my mind of like, oh man, are people still going to be watching this video because, we spent 10 minutes and then had to reset the whole game?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? This, and this might sound worse than it is I have been having a blast just turning these episodes on as I, like, go to sleep, like, just watching them, and, like, because it's like, we need to have like a 24/7 live stream channel, our classic RPG grinding to sleep and study too. Because it's just, for me, it's like, it's good company. It's something that, when I'm not having to constantly heal and every battle isn't a battle for my life, it's just something where I can kind of turn my brain off just a little bit, and I can actually start to focus on the conversations we're having instead of, oh gosh, what's going on every single turn?
Yeah.
And where am I going?
And then have me and Jeddy feel terrible about, like, oh,
Yeah.
we let you die.
That's okay.
Hear about the
I
worst game
also
of all
let me
time?
die. Because the truth of the matter is, a lot of the times I am a little bit zoning out on the conversation at hand. When I, like, earlier, when I died, I was definitely, like, doing, like, a 70-30 focus, and the 70% of my focus was on the game, and I still died anyway. So
70-30 being the ratio of damage dealt to HP remaining.
yes.
So, Jeddy, what's the worst?
Oh yeah, no, I was telling you about Hoshi Miru Hito.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Where so the other thing about that is that what was it? So I always enjoyed that, like, right now you can see that you have 58 hit points, right? This game, it would tell you that you have 5, and then you take like 5 damage and nothing happens, and you're like, well, what does that mean? And then you take 3 damage and suddenly it goes down to 4.
What?
Yeah, and then you take, 3 damage and nothing happens, and you take 2 damage and nothing happens.
Would it just
Take 5
round
damage and
just
it goes
giving
down
you
to
the
3.
10s and not the
Yeah.
ones,
Giving you
place?
the 10s, yeah.
What the
It's just
heck?
That's interesting. Well, I like that conceptually, because it's like, well, if this were real life, you wouldn't know exactly how many hit points from dying you were. You just know, oh, I'm pretty wounded. Actually, this hurts a great deal. But you wouldn't know, oh, I'm at 43 hit points. It's just like, I would wager I'm about 40% dead.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how well am I doing?
Yeah. Or,
But still, that I, as a player, I'm sure that would be extremely frustrating.
Because, I mean, I guess, again, it all depends on the structure of the game, because some RPGs, they're not expecting, that kind of precision. That kind of precision is not necessary in some games, but in RPGs especially, but I think it depends on the kind of player you are as well. In my case, where I am right now in Dragon Warrior, I'm not really paying that much attention to my hit points because I'm in an area where I don't need to know, 1 to 2 damage doesn't really matter. There's a sort of margin for error in the amount of damage I've taken where it's not really concerning to me. But especially starting out in a new game and trying to get a feel for what's my survivability, and trying to be able to plan around that, especially the latter point, being able to plan around things, that kind of imprecision feels infuriating from a conceptual standpoint.
You were saying before about falling asleep to these videos. One of the nicest compliments I ever got on any of my YouTube videos was that someone uses my videos, or at least at the time, to fall asleep. And I'm like, you know what? I am glad when people actually watch it for the content, but the fact that you can also use my videos for a soothing purpose makes me feel good.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Why not both?
Talking about the hit points, not being able to see exactly how many you have, that I'm finding is the single hardest point about the combat in Final Fantasy Legend. Because when it tells you the blow-by-blow of what's happening during the battle, of, so-and-so does 48 damage, so-and-so does 3 damage, that blocks your view of your own hit points.
Oh, because of
and
the
it's
and
then for me it like doesn't matter what the numbers are. Like, you could just be displaying a black screen and then you come back and then I have a different number of hit points than I had before, and it's going to feel the same as a window telling me, oh, you took 3 damage, you took 20 damage, and then the window goes away and my number's different because I'm not watching the number go down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I absolutely, in some sense, it's almost more useful if you don't tell me how much damage was done and I can just see the number change on my hit points.
Yeah, like, given the option between the two, if I had no hit points and was told, like, you started with 70, and then the entire rest of the battle, we will just tell you how much you've lost, versus I'm not told how much damage I take, I just see the number change. I will go with the number change, because that I can at least eye it up and be like, oh wow, I am not nearly at the number of hit points I thought I was, or oh wow, that felt like a really big hit. Like, the specific numbers I would like to see in combination, obviously. Like most games, like here, it's right in front of me, and I can also look up at my hit meter and see how things changed. But yeah, I did not realize how challenging it was to not constantly see my hit points to be able to strategize. Because it's not just one person, right? It's an entire party of 4 characters, and trying to juggle all of them and be like, okay, wait, what was your maximum, and when the maximums change as well. Yeah, very tricky.
Indeed. Oh, good grief. I know we discussed what the response speed and agility stat actually do in this game, and that they're a component of defense. But I really, I'm used to agility being either related to your hit chance or your evasion chance, which I think we stated it is not in this game. And so it just kind of bothers me that enemies are constantly just getting the upper hand on me at the beginning of battle. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just like, my response speed is so quick, and yet somehow they're getting the drop on me, and I'm taking like 20, 30 damage.
I was kind of wondering about that. I wasn't able to locate... I didn't do a deep dive, but I did some surface searching in previous videos and was not able to determine what response rate or response speed does. Maybe I just wasn't looking hard enough, but nobody wanted to talk about that stat when we level up. And I've been wondering if that controls how likely you are to run away.
Maybe. Let's take a look at this right now, because I'm actually getting close to the next level, which is, I believe, at 10,000 even. So let's look now.
You can also use Gwaylin's Love.
Yeah, that's true. But I believe that the next one should be 10,000 even. So I've got 56 strength, 51 agility. So let's keep an eye on that and see if the increase in response speed directly corresponds to my agility. If that is the case, I'm heading back to town now to heal briefly because my hit points or my magic points are getting a little bit low. Not too much, but better safe than sorry in the case of extremely bad luck. But it would be interesting to me if, in fact, the response speed is just agility, because if that's the case, why do they call it response speed and not agility? Because they say, well, I guess they call it attack power. Well, no, did they say that strength? I guess we'll see when I level up, but
we'll find out shortly.
Yeah, the verbiage will be interesting to check.
I do wish the metal scorpions behaved like the metal slimes and just gave you Gonzo XP.
Yeah, I was just thinking the same thing. It's like, or better yet,
I do wonder. It's 55 gold a night versus 100 in Cantlin. Are the beds comparably comfy? Is it just, well, you're way out here in the wilderness, there's nowhere else you can sleep, so we're going to charge you so much more out here? Like, what's the quality comparison? I want a Yelp review.
And then a town crier. Hear ye. I rate the Cantlin beds a 9 out of 10 comforts. The other thing I wish is that this game had a little bit more granularity in terms of the metal enemies, because in Dragon Quest VIII, in Dragon Quest VIII, I'm used
Not
to there
everything
being...
is the Final Fantasy legend.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm used to there being multiple tiers of metal slime enemies, which is you have metal slimes, which appear, maybe about a quarter to a third of the way into the game. And then you have the metal, liquid metal slimes, or the metal babbles. And then finally you have the metal king slimes, which are like crazy, ridiculous. And each one, which I don't... they at that point, the metal slimes initially are enemies that you just have to hope that you have good success with hitting them, because they need about 3 or 4 hits to defeat them.
Yeah.
But anything higher than that is basically just a how lucky are you with crits, because they have more HP. In the case of metal bubbles, in liquid metal slimes, they have... Like, you would have to be incredibly lucky with them not running away to defeat them in time. But it's at least still possible. But Metal King Slimes have something like 30 or 40 hit points, and with your characters doing 1 damage per round of combat, even with a party of 4, and the chances of hitting being extremely low as they are, there's no way that you're ever going to defeat one of them unless you specifically use one of your skills that has a low chance of hitting, but if it hits, it's a guaranteed critical, which is basically the strategy for dealing with such enemies, is just hoping that you manage to succeed. Which, I don't know. In some sense, I think that that's just tradition, and they do that because it's how they've always done it. But it would be nice if there was, hey, here we go.
Hey!
Okay, so we have power increases by 7, response speed by 8. So we had 56 power and 51
agility.
Speed. Agility. A new spell.
Did it really?
Repel.
Repel. Okay, so still, usable, still okay.
Yeah, but not really what I'm looking for.
Not what we were looking for.
Okay, so that... I think that did, in fact, directly correlate
to it did. So agility is
agility.
response speed.
Okay,
we've cracked the code.
Yeah, we've got it.
And your defense power went from 61 to 65, so it is that half of 8 is 4 is what you get for your defense.
Yes. Okay.
Now, might I recommend saving, either quick saving or hard saving at this point?
Let's return, and then I can use repel on the way back.
And actually, this might be an interesting time to try out repel and see how far, like once we get back into the field, just how big of a monster are we repelling at this point?
Yeah. It would be interesting and potentially infuriating to find out that we're repelling all of the enemies in that area, that we're just high enough level so that we're in fact repelling the enemies that we intend to fight. It'll be nice. We'll have to talk to the king, see what the damage is for EXP to the next level. I'm predicting very, very large numbers. Okay, only, well, 3,000, so 1,300 points, I guess.
And we're also halfway to...
Yeah, we're halfway to the shield.
Oh, that's a good point. Yes, we do have a considerable amount of...
So why don't we try this now? Why don't we exit? Why don't we throw on repel? And why don't we keep throwing on repel after it wears out until it doesn't have any effect? And then we fight monsters there. Because theoretically, those monsters should be roughly our appropriate level, depending on how the spell works, which I can't quite exactly remember. Like, I don't remember if it's level-based or if it's just strictly monsters below X level won't bug you.
And I noticed it only costs 2 MP, so should we head over to Cantlin type area, or should we head back to Rimeldar?
Yeah, but go to Cantlin.
Okay, and then
let's see how far we get before monsters start pestering us.
Yeah, we'll figure out the territory. Alrighty.
Nice and peaceful. A little bit of a break. Breathe.
Man, I do think about my first playthrough of the Final Fantasy Legend because, going back to party composition, not only did I sell the most powerful sword. Oh, it does tell you when it ran out. I wasn't sure if it would actually tell you. Sorry, yeah. So not only did I sell the most powerful sword for 1 gold, I also had a human who had the base 40 hit points that I did not understand how to increase stats.
Right.
So somehow they lived to the end of the game.
Wow.
And I had a mutant. I'm not sure how, but they had 46 hit points from something. I'm not sure.
Let me just interrupt and let's take a closer look at how much damage we're dealing and taking.
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
But keep going, Jeddy.
Yeah, I guess I must have used a couple of, I probably get a, HP up or whatever in a chest at some point, and I, used that on my mutant. And then I had 2 monsters, and that was the only reason I got through the game, right? I also had, what was it? Nintendo Power's Top Secret Tips and Tricks or something like that. Which had the chart of what meat on what monster makes what monster.
Yeah, because in that game, when you defeat monsters, sometimes they drop meat. And if you have a monster in your party, if your monster eats that meat, they'll transform into a better or worse monster, depending on the relationship between the one you defeated and the one you currently are.
So, you literally are what you eat.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I started
But that's
watching...
another thing that now I need to play that game with a guide, because especially given my initial experience with it, this is not a game I'm going to be replaying. This is not one that I am enjoying enough to really figure out all of the ins and outs as I go along. It's I want to understand how it works so I can move on to the next game and maybe get something out of this game in the process. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be pulling up some sort of chart and following along that way. So, sorry, I cut you off.
I was just saying that I had started to watch a playthrough of that game. Let me check hit points. Okay, we're doing all right. And so far I'm doing about basically the enemies are doing about 2/3 of the damage to me compared to the damage I'm doing them. So when I do, 28 damage, they're doing about 18 to 20 damage per hit in this area, which is still quite a considerable amount. It requires constant maintenance after every battle. But anyway, I had started to watch a playthrough. Again, I've mentioned previously on earlier episodes that channel HC Bailey is basically a really long-running YouTube channel.
Well, we don't need to re-repel.
Oh, yeah,
we're at the area.
Yeah, we don't need to yeah. So he has been playing that game, and he basically has a general understanding of how all the mechanics work and where certain enemies are, what he wants to do for his, what meat he wants to eat and what monsters to get it from, etc. But I also found that it was interesting because I think it was mutants. After each battle, they can gain certain stat points, or they can gain spells, but that can theoretically replace spells that they previously learned. And that's man, it was kind of early RPGs were kind of the Wild West in terms of what mechanics sound fun. It feels like.
I do love when RPGs or any kind of games take a chance on unique mechanics. No, it doesn't always work out, and in fact, sometimes it's awful. But I like that people are trying new things, and every time they try that, okay, maybe this one didn't work as well, but somebody who likes this game enough will use that in their game that they make and try and refine it and improve it, and maybe eventually we'll get the best iteration of this mechanic somewhere along the line.
Yeah, and I saw, this is a discussion that I think has been happening in another gaming chat group that I'm in, which is that we've been discovering, with a lot of modern games these days, that it feels like so many games are designed to, kind of focus tested to death and homogenized to death in the hopes of making them as appeal to
the broadest audience possible.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that and that in doing so, you lose any kind of real appeal that the game might have. And, with a game like Concord, for example, which didn't even last a month. I forget if they actually took it down at the end of the month it was released in, or after the first week it had been around. I could be either or, I don't recall. But we talked on an earlier GameCola podcast about it, how it felt like, on the one hand, the game had been apparently in development for quite a long number of years, and it was clearly targeting, the appeal around, the multiplayer team-focused first-person shooter genre, which was all the rage probably back when the game first came out, and the market wasn't nearly as saturated. But on top of that, by the time it was ready, and it just had no appeal to individual groups. It was just, here's something that we think everyone will like, but as a result, no one really loved it, and so it just wasn't interesting enough to be able to win out over the massive crowd of other similar games that are already established in that genre. And the idea came up that a game needs to be at least a little bit abrasive in order to be interesting and fun and enjoyable, and that necessarily means...
That's an interesting point.
And that it necessarily means, to some extent, maybe not a large extent, but to some extent at least, that some people aren't going to like it for one reason or another. And again, it's a big kind of apply it on a case-by-case basis type thing. But, okay. Okay, I do have a bunch of herbs here. I'm just trying to focus on the battle here, because these demon knights are... kind of tricky. Anyway.
So, suggestion, maybe we port back to town, buy an extra herb, maybe save, and then do the repel trick again, but try and get a little deeper into Metal Slime territory.
Yeah, maybe so. we're getting there, and I think I've got okay. So we're 1/6 of the way to the next level. Oh, 6 gold per night. Whew. Pricey.
We'll never afford the shield now.
Yep.
Man,
You don't have enough gold to heal your full party.
I'm just thinking about that era in which RPGs were kind of the Wild West, and I'm thinking about The Legend of Zelda 2, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that
Because-
game.
It's a really interesting game. Like, not just the fact that it's like weird side-scroller Legend of Zelda, but the entire interaction with the world map, right? You walk around, then stuff spawns that you can run into, and then you are teleported to a little map where you do a battle. A side-scrolling battle, right?
Yeah.
Like, that was a thing that happened on the NES, and I know that there's like other games that also did that kind of a system, but we didn't really get them over here. So for
Oh,
us,
geez.
that's kind of like a one. Thank you, sir, for exiting. Did they have him programmed to know to get out of the way?
I highly doubt it. I
But,
think it's just pure randomness.
But yeah, also kind of going with what you were saying about like taking chances, right? That like you had a game that people liked. What are you going to do for the second one? Oh, something completely different.
Yeah.
But like at the time, nobody really knew what was a good idea.
Yeah, there's very few.
Sometimes I feel like we still don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's so many sequels, so many spin-offs, so many spiritual successors that don't take the right concepts from their inspiration.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, well, this game was popular. Well, why was it popular? We don't know, but it had this, so if we have this, then it'll also be popular.
Yeah. And
Which
then,
goes for really any media.
Yeah. And I mean, as an example, this I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it since it's not an RPG, and because I've also, again, talked about it on the podcast.
We're at a point where I think we can diversify.
But I mentioned, and again, I'm once again cross-pollinating with the podcast here, the Subnautica Below Zero. And that game, they took a lot of lessons from the first game in the series. And they applied them thoughtfully. They made some good improvements to some of the ways that your transportation system in the game. I think it was kind of divisive, but again, we're talking about taking risks, and sometimes people aren't going to like things. Oh boy, good grief!
I want to interrupt, and I like the thought that this is the same skeleton you just fought, but it's like now it's back from the undead.
Yeah.
I was thinking that's the same skeleton that he fought earlier that also killed him earlier.
Yeah, probably.
I will find you in every lifetime.
Yeah. Good grief. But anyway, but they tried to experiment in certain ways that I feel like, they weren't necessarily taking there weren't necessarily any lessons to be learned there, but they decided to change it up, and that some of the things that they tried worked well, and that some of them didn't, which again for me was the decision to add a talking protagonist instead of the mute one who was in the first game, which I think was unfortunately a bad decision. I think that just being able to focus on exploring this world was kind of the big fun. Oh really? He turned it right back on me. I put him to sleep. He instantly woke up first turn.
Oh, come on. What? Come on. At least you had, there you go. Full hit points at the time. Run, I guess?
Oh, I should have run. All right, well, that's that.
Well.
Ugh.
Well.
Yeah, I think
end.
That was absolutely...
Oh man, that UFO is back.
It's back?
Yeah, there's like a weird thing flying around out there.
Interesting. I mean, maybe it is a
keeps going
UFO if it, like...
around the
leaves-
same path. I think I know what it is, but I'm not 100%.
Well, it's a UFO.
Yeah, I posted a picture in the chat.
Yeah, I can see it.
Oh, that's going to help our viewers.
Yeah, well, hey, they
Join
need to
the
join
Discord.
the Discord, yeah.
They need to join the recording already in progress.
I'll post it in the public chat, and then they can scroll back to October
Yeah.
23rd.
Yep.
Yeah,
But post it with no
Docs us.
context in the public GameCola Discord chat.
And we'll see just like what
Just
the
in
heck.
the middle of someone else's conversation.
Yep. What conversation? We don't talk unless Joe instigates us to.
Should I post it in off-topic or games or GameCola?
I think off topic is probably the best place to put it because it is very, by its nature, off topic.
Wait, oh, and there. Okay, hold on. There has to be multiple. It just looped like this is an RPG. Like I just went around the map.
What? I think you may actually genuinely listen. I'm not saying I am very much of the opinion that aliens probably exist. I don't think they're anywhere close to us, but who knows? Did my repel wear off? I think it must have if I'm fighting
That was
ghosts.
just a very, very irrepellable ghost
He's
you just fought.
extremely confident in his ability.
Actually, that perfume smells kind of nice.
Yeah, well, it's like sometimes you gotta smell bad, sometimes you gotta smell... I mean, sometimes you gotta smell bad, sometimes you gotta smell good. They repel different groups.
So, were we trying, Jeddy, were you trying to insinuate that we should be capping off this episode soon?
Yeah, sorry. Then I got distracted by the UFO.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't really know what's gonna be a great... We saved earlier, so maybe we just call it here. We'll see if we die in the next one.
And I have good news for next time. I have isolated, thanks to the magic of the internet, where Metal Slime territory actually is, the defined parameters.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay.
And it's not right here.
as we kind of figured. We'll
Let's just
have
find
to...
that out.
Yeah, we'll do that next time.
Yeah, we'll take them
Yeah.
on next time. See you guys then.
Bye.